in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. This meeting is an in-person meeting held at 870 Colfax here in Benton Harbor. In addition, a live stream of this meeting is available at the following link. Questions may be submitted beforehand to natalie.singer@bhas.org or presented in person during the public comment sections as indicated in the agenda. Board members may be contacted through the emails listed below. Requests for special assistance, including for persons with disabilities, may be sent to natalie.singer@bhas.org. I call this meeting to order officially at 6:08 p.m. We'll begin by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next is roll call. Secretary Triplett.
President Robinson.
Present.
Vice President Bowens.
Present.
Secretary Triplett, present. Trustee Rocket Martin. Trustee Gavin.
Present.
Trustee Doyle. Madam President, a quorum has been established.
All right, awesome. Next on the agenda, we have approval of the agenda.
Madam President,
You have the floor.
I would like for us to, well, I'm asking for permission, because we discussed this lengthily at our last meeting, if we could go to a consent agenda item, leaving out yeah, that's it. Let's go to a consent agenda item, please.
You're not clarifying what you would like to be a consent.
Oh, sorry. The whole
agenda?
the whole agenda. We have discussed this at the last meeting and we discussed it lengthily and detailed.
Okay, so what, trustee Bowen?
Unless there's something new that was added that I looked over.
There are a couple of minor updates. So what we have on the floor is there's a motion to approve the agenda with the amendment that, are you wanting us to just take one vote? I guess I'm trying to
One
understand.
vote on, so when we have to do HR. Disregard. No,
Okay. All right. You sure?
I'm positive.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I so move.
Is there a second or support? The motion has been made by Secretary Triplett and supported by Trustee Rocket Martin. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none. Secretary Triplett.
President Robinson.
Yes.
Vice President Bowens.
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Trustee Rocket Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Gavin,
Yes.
motion carried.
All right, next on the agenda is review of our board norms, the Board of Education norms for Benton Harbor area schools. We will treat each other with respect. We will listen to learn. We will refrain from side conversations. We will use our time wisely, starting and ending our meetings on time. My goal today is to get us out of here by 8 o'clock. We will challenge ideas, not people. We will ask questions when in doubt. There will be no surprises at the board table. We will practice the 7 norms of collaboration. Those are pausing, paraphrasing, posing questions, putting ideas on the table, providing data, paying attention to self and others, and presuming positive intentions. Next on the agenda, we have public comment on agenda items. Is there anyone here for public comment on an agenda item? All right, so I am going to read our public comment statement for you. You can come forward. The Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on district matters. Today, there are 2 areas for comment on the agenda of which you may decide when to speak. Public comment on agenda items and open public comment. We request that each interested participant complete a public participation form using legible writing to ensure that responses are appropriate and properly focused. Per Benton Harbor Area Schools Bylaws 0167.3, which governs board participation at board meetings, we request that you preface your comments with your name, address, and group affiliation when appropriate. Each statement made by a participant shall be limited to a 3-minute duration, and per our bylaws, no participant may speak more than once on the same topic until any other persons have had the opportunity to speak on that topic. Participants may remove their mask when addressing the board. Participants shall direct all comments to the board and not to staff or other participants. The board will listen, take comments and questions under advisement and not respond at this time. I, as president, will refer questions to the superintendent for research and response. Please ensure that your public participation form includes your contact information as requested. If you have specific questions for the board or executive team that require follow-up, please email those directly to natalie.singer@bhas.org. And just for the board's reference, this is Miss Whitfield, and she's going to be sharing with us the Field Strip Field 100-year celebration. Also Ms. Barbara Peoples and Pat.
Okay, my name is Pat Hill. I'm from the Benton Harbor class of 1957.
Go
I
Tigers.
saw in the Herald Palladium that Phillipsburg Field this year is going to be 100 years old. The first home football game played at Phillipsburg Field was October 3rd, 1924. So some of my classmates, we talked about it. We wondered if there was going to be any kind of celebration for 100 years. And so Aline Smith and Darlene Hawkins and I met with Dr. Kelvin Butts, and he thought it was a good idea, along with us, that we do something. We also met with Mr. Bud Dash. And so I made up a list of things that we wanted. This is kind of how we kind of could see having the celebration at Phillipsburg Field for 100 years. We wanted to have it on Saturday, October 5th, because that's close to when the first game was played in 1924. So I've given a few of you a copy of what we wanted, and but we can't go any further unless we get approval. We filled out a form requesting you doing this, and Mr. Dash has it. But we need to know, would the person in charge of cheerleaders have the cheerleaders there on Saturday afternoon to pass out programs and the words to the fight song? Would Dr. Kelvin Butts be there? We would like Mr. Renardo Triplett to be there. We've got him on the program. We'd like him and Aline Smith to introduce some of the old timers and the classes. I don't know if he's had a chance to read it or not. We'd like the football players to be there so they can be introduced. We want to have the newspaper there to take group pictures of everybody there celebrating. So we'd like the band to play the Spangled Banner, a national anthem, at the beginning, like we always do for football games. We'd like them to play the fight song at the end. So we need to have school cooperation to contact all that. If you can do it, let us know, and we'll put it on Facebook and all that. But if you can't do all that, we've only got 3 weeks. We'll just have to cancel. So that's what I'm here for.
Thank you so much. Thank you, ladies. So sounds super exciting. So Dr. Butts will follow up regarding the remaining details that you'd like to clarify.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Madam President, I will.
All right. Anyone else here for public comment on agenda items? All right, hearing none, we'll proceed. Next, we have approval of our meeting minutes. Today, we are approving special session 4/20/2024, closed sessions for 5/29/24, 6/4/24, 6/11/24, 6/25/24, 7/9/24, 7/11/24, 7/23/24. Special session 8/8/24, regular session 8/13/24, work session 8/27/2024, and closed session 8/27/2024. Is there a motion to approve?
So
So
Madam
moved.
President,
All right, the motion has been made by Secretary Triplett, Vice President Bowens. Would you like to support? Would you like to be
well,
the
I have a
support?
question. My question is, do we have to go through each one in a?
No, we're taking one vote.
One vote, okay.
You support?
Well, yes.
Yes? Okay, I thought you were, I guess I'm confused because you were making the motion to approve. So are you questioning if you want to support? Because I can get a different support.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, so the motion has been made by Secretary Triplett and supported by Vice President Bowens. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
President Robinson,
You have the floor.
so the closed session notes aren't linked on here. I know that there are certain permissions, but the board doesn't even have permission for what we're voting on. It just has the,
So your minutes are in your packet?
President Robinson.
Yes,
so those, we don't get the packet until we get here.
I'm sorry.
Those minutes.
Can you speak in the, you don't have a mic down there? I'm sorry.
Those minutes were provided at the work session as a separate packet. So we assume that you have your packet from the 27th and those minutes would be included as a separate, I believe they were stapled together, weren't they?
So
Yes,
I guess,
they
my-
were provided.
so my question is, there, Google Docs has the capabilities to allow for board members only to have access to those documents, and I'm just wondering if it's possible to, like, moving forward, if we can have access to our notes, or
So we can do that, make sure that there's a link that has school board access only. The district would just have to be very, very careful in doing that. My hesitation with doing that is if they make one mistake in sharing access, they give the public access to information that they're not entitled to. So that's always been my hesitation with actually having a live link. Secretary Triplett.
Yes, and that's been the recommendation, and that's been protocol, that when it comes to our closed session meeting, they are specifically for the Board of Education and only for the Board of Education. That's why they are very brief. And in the writings and what have you, there's nothing specific in there, but we definitely have access to them. And the board can get those, and we take those back, and they must be kept confidential because the session was closed.
so what I would say is my only concern, and I noticed that the notes are very brief. There is a legal matter that is of concern, and so I will support these notes with the caveat that there was something that happened in the board meeting, in a board meeting, that is not in these notes. And so me approving them does not mean that the incident did not occur. It's just me approving these general notes as they are. So I
The general
just wanna
business
make
at
that note.
hand. Okay. If it's no other questions, Secretary,
Madam President, I think.
Trustee Rocket Martin.
Where it says the board.
So I want to make sure you're not gonna read the closed
No, no,
session
no,
notes.
I'm not, I'm just gonna.
Okay.
Make a correction. It says for the one where the Board of Education retreat minutes, I think they have the Saturday, April 2025. I think that's supposed to be 24.
It does.
That's
Okay,
incorrect.
just a brief correction.
Yeah, it was corrected. We just got the wrong copy.
Okay, if there's no other questions, and thank you for that clarification, trustee Raquel Martin, and your comments, trustee Gavin. Secretary Triplett, can you please call the vote?
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowens,
No,
Secretary Triplett, yes, Trustee Rocket Martin,
Yes.
Trustee Gavin,
Yes.
motion carried.
All right, next, we are going to proceed with board business. A reminder that our protocol as of 9/13/2022, all comments will be limited to 2 minutes per trustee per topic. Our first item of business under board business, as you all are aware, today is September 11th. Our standard meeting would have been yesterday, but we rescheduled. So we want to make sure that we do acknowledge today. So at this particular time, I'm going to pass the floor over to Secretary Triplett. He's going to lead us in a moment of recognition and silence for September 11th.
Thank you, Madam President. We remember, God of history and remembrance, we remember. We remember when the towers fell and the lives were lost. We remember the dust and the smoke, the despair and the grief. We remember that sense of vulnerability and shock. We remember the numbness that overwhelmed us as we watched in our schools on Channel 1 for hours and hours waiting for an explanation and understanding that never came. We remember. We remember, God of hope and presence. We remember. We remember the heroes, those who rushed to help, who guided the wounded down insurmountable flights of stairs, whose roads to overwhelm those who held death in their hands. We remember the hours and the days of binding wounds and healing hurts, giving comfort, drying tears. We remember words of support and compassion from nations far and wide. We remember. We remember in part because we see the ripples of that tragic day continue to impact our world 23 years later. We grieve with allies today as our allies grieved with us 23 years ago. And together, we wonder if there will ever be an end to violence, to war, to hatred, to death. We remember and we grieve our world's inability to learn the things that lead to peace. We call you now in our remembrance, God of justice and of peace. Give us a will to truly pray that your kingdom or your kingdom may come on earth as it is in heaven. On this day of solemn remembrance, may we honor the lives that were lost in this tragic act. May we give thanks for those who served and saved, rendered aid and assistance. May we give comfort to those who live with loss. May we seek justice and peace where it is within our ability and rely on you when the ability escapes us. On this day of solemn remembrance, may we build what has been torn down. May we mend what has been broken. May we live your love when hate seems to reign. May we bear witness to the cause of peace. We remember. Let us have a moment of silence. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Secretary Triplett. Next, we have a closed session. For the public, a closed session is something that only the board is privy to. However, we will be extremely brief. So at this particular time, the Board of Education will hold a closed session to consider personnel matters under policy 0167.2G. After we enter and return from the closed session, we'll then be taking votes on resolution HR 1 and resolution HR 2. Members of the public are more than welcome to stay because we will be right back out. And then we'll continue our meeting upon our return. So at this time, I'll ask, is there a motion to end open session and enter closed session per policy 0167.2G?
Madam President, I so move.
Is there a second or support?
I support.
The motion has been made by Secretary Triplett and supported by Trustee Rocket Martin. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, Secretary Triplett?
President Robinson,
Yes?
Vice President Bowens,
No.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Trustee Rocket Martin,
Yes.
Trustee Gavin,
Yes.
motion carried.
All right, so we are ending open session at 6:26 PM. We'll return shortly. Support?
I support.
The motion has been made by Secretary Triplett and supported by Trustee Rocket Martin that we end closed session and return to open session. Any questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none, Secretary Triplett?
President Robinson,
Yes?
President Robinson, Secretary Triplett, yes. Trustee Rocket Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Gavin.
Yes.
Should I do Vice President Bowens? He didn't go in?
He still gets the.
Okay, Vice President Bowens,
No.
motion carried.
All right, next on the agenda, we have resolution HR 1 and resolution I'm sorry, we're returning to open session as of 6:45 PM. Thank you. Next on our agenda is resolution HR 1 and resolution HR 2. Dr. Bus, were you or Marvin presenting those? Who's Marvin? Mr. McDermott. Just, she can present that. We can just present that. We don't have to create. Um, this is a resolution. This is
Okay.
sufficient.
So for staff report HR 1, whereas Brian Harris is interested in being considered for employment as maintenance technician staff through EduStaff pursuant to revised school code sections 12309 and 12310, and after careful review, myself, Superintendent Dr. Kelvin Butts, is recommending the continuation of employment application process for Brian Harris through EduStaff pursuant to Section 8A of the Open Meetings Act and the request of Brian Harris. The board met in closed session to consider the background check information, MLC 15.268. Now therefore be resolved pursuant to the revised school code sections 12309, 1230810, and 1230G, and after careful review, the board
Does or does not.
does not, okay,
Mhm.
approve Brian Harris to proceed with employment application process through EduStaff MLC 380.12309, MCL 380.1230A10, MCL 380.1230G.
All right, so is there a motion to approve staff report H1 with the understanding that it would be the board does approve Brian Harris to proceed? Is there a motion to approve staff report HR1?
I so move.
Is there a second or support?
I support.
The motion has been made by Secretary Triplett and supported by Trustee Rocket Martin. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none. Secretary Triplett,
President Robinson,
yes?
Vice President Bowens,
Abstain.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Trustee Rocket Martin,
Yes.
Trustee Gavin,
Yes.
motion carried.
All right, Dr. Butts, resolution HR2.
Whereas William Gray is interested in being considered for employment as youth advocate at Benton Harbor High School staff through EduStaff pursuant to revised school code section 12309 and 123010. And after careful review, I'm Superintendent Dr. Kelvin Butts is recommending the continuation of the employment application process for William Gray through EduStaff pursuant to Section 8A of the Open Meetings Act and the request of William Gray. The board met in closed session to consider the background check information, MCL 15.268. Now therefore be it resolved pursuant to revised school code sections 12309, 1230A10, and 1230G. And after careful review, the board does or does not approve William Gray to proceed with the employment application process through EduStaff, MCL 380.12309, MCL 380.1230A10, MCL 380.1230G.
Is there a motion to approve staff report HR2?
I so move.
Is there a second or support?
Support.
The motion has been made by, I'll take Trustee Gavin and supported by Trustee Rocket Martin. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
I have a question.
You have the floor.
Okay, so I know that we've outsourced our custodial staff. I'm not in favor, I'm not a huge fan of outsourcing. But I understand, kind of. And I noticed that this position is, I think, youth advocate. And I'm wondering, like, is there this is through EduStaff, do we have a process for allowing these employees to be able to be hired in through the district? And if so, what, how many days do they have to work as EduStaff before they can be hired in?
Mr. McDermott or Dr. Butts?
Thank you for that question. At this time, the
Can't hear you.
at this time, the youth advocate position is not a position that has been scheduled to transition to a district position or to district employment. So it is structured similar to how we currently have our custodians and maintenance solely through our third-party vendor, EduStaff.
So is that a board level policy? Is that a superintendent decision? Is that a HR decision? I'm just wondering whose decision is it that we don't have any pathway to permanency with Ben Harbor Area Schools for a position like that?
Thank you. I'll defer to Dr. Butts.
On that position, that was one of the positions that was part of the right size discussion that we'll continue at a later time.
So that's a superintendent level decision.
It will be a board decision once we come to the right size discussion.
So is the board's decision
Yeah.
the board can decide whether or not these positions offer a hiring in opportunity? Is what you're saying, it's not a superintendent level decision?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Madam President,
Secretary Triplett.
I just always want to put this on the record. And I know that we have outsourcing. This has been something that's happened nationwide. And my feelings as it relates to outsourcing the areas and things that were outsourced. When you look at busing, those were people from our community. When you look at food service, those women in those kitchens are people from Benton Harbor. And so all of the things, secretaries, those were Benton Harbor citizens. All of the jobs where the majority of the employees in this district who live and have been a part of this district, pay taxes in this district, who vote in this district, all of these jobs are quote unquote outsourced. And so I too, with Trustee Gavin, my concern, because we haven't really done the work as it relates to right sizing the district. That might have been in people's thoughts, but we haven't right sized anything yet. But I would like to see, when we go in and we look at the position that we're talking about, even here for Mr. Gray, and when we get ready to go to the table and do the real work and the hard work, we need to, not just for Mr. Gray, because the majority, all of these positions that are EduStaff positions, I'm not going to ask for the percentage of it because it's very difficult to get information, but the majority of them are people who live in this community. And those people who, and there's no shade, but it is what it is. This is just a fact. The employees that are employees of Benton Harbor Area Schools are employees and and chosen to be employees for the school district who do not live in this community, who do not vote in this community, and who do not pay taxes in this community. So these are something that we need to look at when we start having these conversations about the roles of people and the people that are on the rolls here in Benton Harbor, because it makes me feel weird, and I just don't like it. I just want that to be on the record. Thank you.
Okay, so just a reminder, we're at resolution HR 2 that's specifically regarding the hiring of,
Gray.
yeah, is it Mr. Gray?
Gray.
Mr. William Gray. So I want to make sure our comments stay focused on what the actual report is, because I want us to get timely. Both of the comments made are really good questions or really good comments, but we're right now just specifically on HR 2 regarding the hiring of Mr. Gray. Does anyone else have a comment or question regarding staff report HR 2? All right, hearing none, Secretary Triplett.
President Robinson.
And just want to make sure this is with the understanding that it would be the board does approve William Gray. Yes.
Vice President Bowens.
Abstain.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Trustee Rocket Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Gavin.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, so next up, we have the Policy and Discipline Committee. I apologize to the board that I did not catch it until we got to the table. We are not technically doing second readings for all of the policies that are noted. This would be our first reading. So I know there's a staff report S1 that is noted there. However, we are not in position to take a vote because this would technically be our first reading. In our last meeting, we took our vote in second reading for policies 2264 and 2266. We have yet to read the policies noted, so we will not be taking a vote on these today. So at this particular time, I'm going to pass it over to Trustee Gavin, who is the chair of the Policy and Discipline Committee. She's going to provide her updates and then take us through the first readings for the noted policies. Trustee Gavin.
Hey, I want to thank you so much, President Robinson, for catching that. It was policies 2264 and 2266 at the last meeting, and y'all have to refresh my memory. Liz, it was a second reading. Did we go ahead and vote and move those through?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right, thank you for that. Okay, and so we have some recommendations for the cell phone policy that are there from the superintendent. I think that is something that's worthy of a discussion. We actually had a town hall about it, and there is a lot of concern both ways. I've heard information from seasoned teachers who want to protect cell phone use, and we've heard from some other teachers who are ready for the ban to get started yesterday. So me personally, I'm very much interested in one, how the board feels about this policy. And then also what the superintendent's kind of intentions are. I would love to know what Dr. Butts's administrative guidelines would look like how would this be outlined? So there was some rich conversation around it. I would say what has been a major issue is there are some educators who want to be able to integrate cell phone use in their lessons. And then there are some, both educators and students and parents, who want students to be able to use the cell phone while they are in the cafeteria. So like when they have a lunch break, be able to use it at that time, but not use the phones, during class or in the hallways or anything like that. And so, I would love to know, one, how the board feels about the policy, and then two, if Dr. Butts has a leaning towards one way or the other.
So I'll give the floor to Dr. Butts. He can provide his insight.
Thank you, Madam President. When it came to this policy, and we were speaking about it in the policy committee, my recommendation was and still is that the students be able to bring their devices to school, but not have the opportunity to access their devices until after school because of the potential nefarious use during school hours. I know we had some robust and good conversation around possible use around lunchtime, but then again, that gives me pause and concern of being able to continue with some nefarious things during the lunch hour. I know most parents would like to have their students to carry their devices because they have information to relay to their child after school. So I'm in favor of them having the devices, but them being out of sight all day until after school. And if the parent needs to reach the child or the child needs to reach the parent during the day, then they will use the office phone as per protocol. As far as the AGs, Neola has some AGs already kind of outlined, and I will share them with the board. I did not bring them down this afternoon. I will share them out with what Neola already has as far as guidelines for AGs. So we have those already ready to go, but that would be my recommendation.
Okay, Dr. Butts, I have a question for you, if it's okay with Trustee Gavin.
Yes, please.
What brought about consideration for a cell phone policy? Was this a request from administrators, or what brought about the consideration for it?
Trustee Gavin had an interest in looking at a cell phone policy when we first when we were in the policy committee. That was one of the things that Trustee Gavin had an interest in looking at.
Okay.
What I would also add is that Trustee Bowens, I think, sent a request to me or to the school board, or the policy committee. I'm not sure exactly who it went to, but I know that there was a request to look into it. And so from that request, we added it on to our committee, and it went from there.
Okay. All right. So it's your opportunity to chair, Trustee Gavin.
Okay, was there anyone else who had a question, a concern, or a leaning? I think this says here that it's a first reading. I personally would love to see the administrative guidelines and how Dr. Butts would be looking to roll it out. I think that's helpful as we make those considerations. But are there any other board members who, Secretary Triplett?
Yeah. When we talk about the cell phone policy from a national level, this is not just a local issue, it's a national issue. And so having had the opportunity last year to serve in the capacity of an assistant principal, which deals with discipline and what have you, this was a very difficult piece for us. And so one of the things that when we talk about, first of all, I think that we need to teach our children how to use their cell phone properly.
Mm.
And so when you come into the school, this is my belief, that when they come into school, they're coming to school, so their cell phones need to be turned off. That's the way I feel it's important that they understand this, but it's also very difficult because what I found was a lot of things were happening in the school, texting, meet me in the bathroom, we're getting ready to fight in the bathroom, meet me on the 3rd floor, we're getting ready to smoke, we're getting ready, and it was during classes, and it really created a problem. It also created a problem where, immediately phones, if something happened in school, because schools have school fights, and then the phones are up in the air and they're going live, and so people just get a small snippet of what it is. And so this right here and I think that it is imperative, we dealt with it, I dealt with this fact. That's my mama. That's my mama on the phone. Sometimes that's true and sometimes it isn't. But their parents should know as well that they should not be calling them during school. And if there is an emergency, that the office needs to be contacted and those students can be brought down. Now, bringing it down to a local level, from my experience, where I've dealt with the Miss Ben Harbor and Mr. Ben Harbor pageants for some years. And the thing that was, we have students from all different high schools. When we send text or we call students from other high schools in the area, they never answered their phone. Benton Harbor students immediately correspond, communicate. I don't care if they're in class, wherever it is, take pictures, snap, and they immediately, because the students got in their mind at their school that when we're in school, we don't have our phones on. So, I mean, I'm not, you know what I mean? I'm in here, I'm doing it, but we also have to be mindful.
Want to thank
That-
you, Secretary Triplett.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but we also
Sorry,
have to
we're
be
at
mindful
time.
because I also see staff on the phone all day. I'm off of work. I see staff posting from the time they step into the building until the time they go home. Okay, so this right here is serious. I personally myself, I did not use my phone at work. So that's just something, that's just my feeling. And I definitely want to be a part of this conversation.
Thank you so much, Secretary Triplett. So it looks like we will have an opportunity. I want to make sure I didn't miss anybody.
Vice President Bowens.
Yes.
So last year I got to visit the schools. I visit Fairplain Junior High, I visit the high school, and I walked into the classroom. I just walked around, and Mr. Moran walked me around. Most of the students had their cell phones out and they were using the cell phones. Fairplain Junior High, I got videos of parents sending me videos of children in pajamas, fighting. And you're thinking in middle school, what's going on? Where's the order? But we're living in a different time. I'm probably the youngest one on this board right now. Back in my day, we had the hot dog phone. You know what I'm talking about? And we had the chirp and stuff. And, you couldn't do all of that, what you can do with your cell phone. However, you can use artificial intelligence or Chat GPT, and it will answer and give you the answers to your assignment. So if we want our kids to understand and really be at school learning, we need to remove these devices. Also, the image that we're putting out on social media when it's a fight and fights and it's shared over 1,000 times and everything. And you're like, what's going on? What's going on? And you haven't seen it because these kids are younger. What image are we sending to Benton Harbor? What image are we sending? And we have to get back to the basics of making sure our kids get a quality education and are focused in the classroom, and making sure they get a quality education is eliminating the cell phones, eliminating distractions. We had a parent that came to the school board, I don't know if you remember, and asked us, why is her kid always on her cell phone? And that is the reality that we're dealing with. So let's do something to stop it. Thank you.
Trustee Raquel Martin. Thank you.
I agree with Mr. Triplett and Mr. Bowens. My experience in the elementary school with cell phones, even 10 years ago, students, I remember having a second grader taking pictures of herself in a compromising situation and knew how to send it. And so you get that kind of, behaviors that other people get privy to. And so I think it could be very dangerous. If I don't like you, I'll try to catch you in a situation or whatever, and I'll send it to everybody, and it could be something that happened outside of school, but because they have their cell phones or whatever, they can send it whatever. So I would go along with Mr. Triplett and Mr. Bowens about kids not having their cell phones, and that their parents, if their parents need to reach them, put the guidelines in, as Mrs. Gavin is saying, Ms. Gavin is saying, put the guidelines in and stick to them. Don't be wishy-washy, stick to them, and you will find that everybody will do. And they will understand and know that this is the policy and this is what we will have to follow and this is what we are going to do.
Thank you so much, Trustee Raquel Martin. And what I would say is this. I try to look at policy as an opportunity to balance. And we've had teachers and students who've indicated that they use their phones for educational purposes. When I was a teacher, my students created the policy. They created the cell phone policy in the classroom. I held them to it, but they helped create the policy. There were times when students had to use their phone for a business class to call for references. So it was, and we coached them through how to ask for those job references. Another teacher indicated that a lot of our students don't have glasses and they use the phone to take a picture of the board and zoom in. And so I even saw something where the robotics class was using cell phones. So there's that side to it. And then there's the other side of safety, a distraction. Sometimes students get irate when their phone is taken away. And so there has to be some level of balance. What I'm leaning towards and would love to get some input from the board between now and whenever this happens is, if we keep in the policy an opportunity for teachers to request cell phone use in the classroom as it pertains to that lesson. So it's not, it's a free day, but we're learning these apps or we're learning these items on the cell phone as it pertains to the lesson. They get approval from the principal, and then there is signage that this is a cell phone lesson. And that's the only, during that lesson is the only time that they can use the cell phone. So other than that, no cell phone possible option during the cafeteria. So, that's my leaning, because it can be an educational tool, and a lot of us on our jobs are not allowed to use phones. And a lot of us on our jobs actually do use our phones as a part of our work, a very intense part of our workday. So it's a robust conversation. The other thing is we need to make sure that every student has a computer if we're going to take away their cell phones. So, that's on us to make sure that they are equipped with those tools if we are going to do that. And we need to make sure we have a communication strategy so that everyone who is impacted knows exactly what the rule is, exactly what the consequences are, and exactly how we will be moving forward and have some level of input into the conversation.
Madam Chairman, can I?
I'm not sure if President Robinson is okay with the second
I think he just has a clarifying
Okay,
question.
yes,
Yeah,
please.
I'm just, I thought we were just in discussion about this, but like as far as taking their phones, I don't think we should get into that.
I agree.
Because, when you're taking their phones, the problem with that is people say, well, you can take them and put them in the machine. Somebody steals their phone, the school is responsible for that phone. I don't think you should ever take and they are serious about their phones. I don't think that should be something that we do. I mean, I would like that to just be at the forefront. We do not take their phone. Because that's not a good thing. You put the school in liability. Some of those phones cost thousands of dollars, and some of those kids are serious about their phone and they will fight you.
I'm in agreement with you, Secretary Triplett, and I would say, if there's a consequence, it's for the student not complying
Yeah.
with the teacher or with the staff person's request. I don't want to touch your phone, but I need to not see it, right? And if you can't comply with that, then there are consequences
Yes.
because you didn't comply. I'm not touching your phone. I'm not touching you. We're not gonna touch each other, right? So I'm in agreement with that as well. But like I said, if you all do not mind, like just contacting the policy committee members between now and our next reading to let us know. And I also think that we need a little bit of communication time just to lay out everything so that we don't get that level of backlash.
Yeah.
So I'll move on. That's the cell phone policy. I think we still have a little bit of work to do there. But I am in favor of some controls and some structure around that. The policy 1240 evaluation of the superintendent. It looks like there's some recommendations there just in terms of prior to a certain date, making sure that if the superintendent has these consecutive highly effective evaluations, then he can move to every other year. There's another section on here that I don't know if it's the law or if it was just a recommendation that says that all contracts governing the employment of the superintendent entered into, extended, renewed, or modified on or after July 1st must include an appeal process concerning the evaluation process and rating received. So that's a change, right? That would allow for some other layers of, some other layers of support to the superintendent if something should change. And so I think it's important to find out if that's law, or if that's just a recommendation of Neola.
Madam President.
Yes, ma'am.
Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
that's the law. That's the new law that's coming down.
Okay, and so the good news is that we have our representative from Neola coming to our next policy committee meeting. Well, we've invited him. Hopefully he can make it. And so we'll get to the bottom of if that's law or if it's just a highly recommended. So please read through that. The others really are not major changes. It's really just semantics, spelling of package and things of that, like the purchasing one. There's not any major changes other than just a few words that doesn't really change the meaning of that one. So I want to encourage you all to look at it. The one at 6350 dealing with the prevailing wages. There's some options there, and it's really dealing with designating a person who will be tasked with ensuring compliance with state and federal regulations concerning prevailing wages rates. And so the option is to designate the superintendent or designate a prevailing wage coordinator for the district. And it looks like the superintendent's recommendation is for him to be the one to do that. Is that correct, Dr. Butts?
That's correct.
Okay. I don't know if you wanted to say anything more about that. So it looks like if you are that person, we would not be designating a prevailing wage coordinator to make sure that we are in compliance with the prevailing wage rate.
That's great. It deals with when we're dealing with our capital projects and our vendors, that's where the prevailing wage comes in. as far as how much they pay. So by law, they meaning the vendors have a prevailing wage that they have to stick by. So say, for example, we've signed several contracts. So after January 1, prevailing wage starts. Since we've locked into the contract, we've started the projects. If their wages go up, so if the state of Michigan raises the prevailing wage for those workers, we are not obligated to we are not obligated to do a change order and pay more. The employer, the vendor has to absorb those costs. So as we move forward with our purchases, they will be taking in consideration the prevailing wage. So that's what that means.
And just real briefly, if you could just tell us what's the benefit to having you be that person as opposed to a prevailing wage coordinator?
It cuts down on the ambiguity of the communication back to the board. So as I negotiate, or as myself and the facilities director negotiate and or speak to vendors, and then we bring it back to the committee, it just cuts down on the ambiguity and also saves the district funds as to just having one person designated.
And if we did have one person designated, that would be their sole responsibility to make sure that we are in compliance with the state and federal regulations.
That would be the sole responsibility and not a full-time position, because it prevailing wages only come into play when we're doing those capital projects.
Okay, and so I think, it might be helpful just to know what the cost is of that role, but just letting the board know that Dr. Butt's recommendation is that he would like to cover that role, and you'll be voting on that when we have a second reading. And then the last one, administrative staff reductions and recalls. This looks like a completely, correct me if I'm wrong, this looks like everything on here are new recommendations. So you want to read this just regarding retaining effective administrators in situations involving a staffing or program reduction or any other personnel decision resulting in the elimination of a position, as well as for hiring after such reductions in positions, eliminations, or recall to vacant positions. Length of service or tenure status may only be considered when all other factors are considered equal amongst the potentially affected administrators. The effectiveness of administrators shall be measured in accordance with the district's performance evaluation systems developed under section 1249 of the school code. So this is something, if you have any concerns about it, I think it's something that we all need to just take a look at in more depth. And if there are any changes or recommendations to that, please let me know. That's it for the reading of these policies. We have about 22 policies that we need to update within a pretty short period of time. And I believe that I'm about to turn it over to you, President Robinson, but I'm very much concerned about our outsourcing. When we look at Michigan finally being a place where we're bringing back unions to protect staff and things of that nature, and outsourcing leaves staff vulnerable to retaliation. And so I would be looking at I would like to add to our priorities a policy that will give EduStaff employees an opportunity, a pathway into employment, and just wanting to find out. So I want to alert the finance committee that, will be helpful for us to know what's the cost analysis on that, on that opportunity. Because if we're not protecting our staff, then they're afraid to ask us questions, to talk to us, to give good feedback, and they don't think that they have long-term longevity. So that's going to be a priority for me as well in the midst of all of the other policies that we need to update. And I will turn it over to you, President Robinson.
All right, so thank you, Trustee Gavin. So I just want to note, this is, as stated, this is our first reading. We technically should have waited for the work session. that we have later this month, because next meeting will be the work session and we'll technically be on our second reading at that time. So I just want to give you guys a heads up that this information will be there, but we will not be taking a vote on 9/24. We won't actually take a vote until our October board meeting. So that will give us an opportunity to look at the cell phone policy in more detail. Dr. Buss, if you could work on getting the AG together and have that included with the agenda for our upcoming work session meeting. That way we can kind of look at how you're planning to operationalize the policy change if it goes through.
Yes, ma'am.
Madam President.
Secretary Triplett.
We went to the Michigan Association of School Boards meeting as it related to the changes and what have you to the superintendent's evaluation. There were some deadlines that needed to take place like immediately according to the state law. And I just wanted to make sure, I know we do have some policies, a lot of policies that we need to look and go through and do our second reading, but if you all will go through and make sure that we're within those guidelines. Because this is mandated by the state of Michigan. So the evaluations have changed, you know, the scoring there is not highly effective anymore. And all of this is from the state legislature. So we need to make sure that we're up on that and that we have to move that to a work session, and it needs to be done so that we will definitely make sure that we are in compliance with state regulations.
All right, thank you, Secretary Triplett. Up next, we have superintendent updates. I'm going to pass the floor to, thank you, Trustee Gavin. I'm sorry. I would like to ask if there is an amendment to the agenda to remove staff report S1. I know that we are not technically able to take that vote, but being that we approved the agenda with staff report S1, expecting a vote, I would like to amend to remove that staff report. Is there a
Madam
motion?
President,
Yes.
I make a motion to remove staff report S1 from
Is-
the agenda.
Is there a second or support?
I support.
The motion has been made by Vice President Bowens and supported by Trustee Gavin. Secretary Triplett, can you please call the vote? And you can probably put it in the same section as your S1 on your sheet. We'll just update it.
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowen,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Trustee Rocket Martin,
Yes.
Trustee Gavin,
Yes.
Madam President, motion carried.
All right, Dr. Buss, you have the floor to present staff report S2 regarding your requested professional development.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm presenting tonight for board approval for professional development. It is for the American Association of School Administrators. It is the yearly AASA conference, the conference that provides superintendent opportunities to get your superintendent credentials. It also provides an opportunity of learning and training with superintendents across the nation. This training is annual. This training provides me with an opportunity to speak with other superintendents that are dealing with issues that are very closely related to Benton Harbor area schools, and to come back and to help create ideas and solutions for some of the issues that we face. Many times we are facing issues that we think that are endemic to Benton Harbor, which is so not true. There are many districts across the nation that face very similar issues. They have very similar demographics as ours, and the hope is to continue this learning opportunity.
All right, Dr. Buss, can you present staff report S2?
Reason for board consideration, where it has been known that professional development opportunities have been shown to be effective in enhancing instructional and financial leadership to give me the skills and insight to excel as a superintendent. The superintendent's request permission to attend the following professional development opportunity: the National Conference of Education, AASA, location New Orleans, dates March 6 to 8, 2025. Total estimated cost, $2,625. Facts and analysis: professional development in all tiers of the educational systems are an important opportunity for staff development, growth, learning, and leadership. Policy reference 3242, professional growth requirements. Recommended action that the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education votes to approve the above list of professional development opportunities for the superintendent.
Is there a motion to approve staff report S2?
Madam President,
You have the floor.
I make a motion to approve staff report S2.
Is there a second or support?
Support.
The motion has been made by Vice President Bowens and supported by trustee Raquel Martin. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
Madam President,
Trustee Gavin, and then we'll go Vice President Bowens.
What I would say, thank you, President Robinson. What I would say is that I'm very much in support of professional development. My concern is that it's in March of 2025 and we don't know what March of 2025 is going to look like for us. And the cost of $2,625, not being sure what March of 2025 is going to look like for Benton Harbor area schools. It may be too soon to make that decision and that expenditure at this time. But I am in favor of professional developments. It's just the timing and the cost and not knowing what is going to happen at that time.
All right, and Vice President Bowens.
I believe professional development is great and needed. I believe we should already have money allocated for our administration to do it, whether it's, I believe we should have professional development money and allocated in the superintendent. I think this is a brilliant and great thing to go ahead and go on. So I am pleased to support this.
Secretary Triplett.
I also looked at, I too support, professional development for our superintendent. And I also looked at the pre-registration, if this would be of any assistance, trustee Gavin, or the 31st of October, in order for us to pay when you won't have additional fees and what added. And we do have money allocated for professional development for our superintendent. And Dr. Butts, have you ever attended this conference before?
Yes, sir.
Is this conference only for superintendents? There's no programs or anything there for principals?
So at this conference, we get an opportunity to know what other opportunities are coming up for rising or growing our own superintendents. So year before last, when I was interim, I paid my own dues to go. That was to do the graduation and to get an opportunity. So I did put two of our one current administrator and one previous administrator through a superintendent boot camp, Mr. Brian Litton and Ms. Delundra Patterson, so we can start our pipeline of growing our own. Ms. Patterson was not able to complete hers. Mr. Litton did complete his.
Yeah, and so I guess my question was simply this: is this conference just for superintendents, or is this something that our principals can benefit from?
Just for superintendents, and yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Specifically, okay, thank you so very, very much. So yes, I would also like, when we say we have money for professional development, that we make sure that we do the same things, that we look out for some great places, some good things for our principals to go to conferences so that they can be, meet with other principals. It's not just going to places and meeting people that have situations just like ours. I struggle with that. What is just like ours? When somebody say just like ours, what is ours? We're talking about education and what it stands for. These are the opportunities for us to be able to grow in the area of education. And so I do support this, and I look at the deadline for us to be able to save money and have that by October the 31st.
Secretary Triplett, can you please call the vote?
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowens,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Trustee Raquel Martin,
Yes.
Trustee Gavin,
No.
motion carried.
All right, Dr. Butts. Next up, we have the partnership agreement update and strategic plan update. You'll have to forgive me. I can't remember whether or not you went over these in great detail last meeting.
I did. I
Okay.
can recap if you like.
You can just give a brief update for the public.
So for the public, we went over in the partnership agreement all the things that we have coming up and what we are doing to prepare for our 18-month benchmark. At that time, we were having to go into MyKIP. We have all of the information for the MyKIP, which are the district and different individual schools improvement plans to go into the program. Right now, we're unable to upload our information. We're waiting on some technicalities to be cleared up at the state, but we have all of our information ready. We're working with Barry and Risa as our partner in this to make sure we get our documents uploaded and get prepared for the 18-month benchmark review.
So you're saying that you're saying that the issue with uploading this information is on the state,
Yes,
not on us,
Not
not
on
having the
us.
information prepared to be submitted.
That's correct. So what I said was we have all of our information ready to be uploaded.
Okay.
We are waiting on the state to correct some technical difficulties in uploading the information. This is not the first time this happened. So and once they open up the portal for us to upload our information, we'll have it uploaded.
All righty, your strategic plan update, anything?
So
you
with the
want-
strategic plan update, as I look back through the update and
She had a question about
sorry.
the
Yes.
partnership
I had
agreement.
a question about the finance piece. I believe, Dr. Buss, you're going to, and maybe you have already. If you have, I apologize. You are going to get information from us from the state regarding our status with not having a finance director, that position not being posted as of yet. Did they provide anything in writing indicating that that is not a requirement for us to have a director of finance in place?
Yes, ma'am. I provided the board yesterday with an email from the State Treasury Department and from Michigan Association School Business Office to the entire board in reference to that. There are no requirements for a CFO or a business office manager. They strongly recommend that there's a certification, there's a strong recommendation that there is a business office manager that have taken courses, which our business office manager has done. And there's also, as indicated in the work session, our business office manager has already enrolled in courses for CFO. But by the state of Michigan, there are no certification requirements for the business office.
The MSBO certification, they're saying, is the best thing that we should have. Is that?
Yes, ma'am. According to the executive director, Mr. Bob Dewan from MSBO, that is the best course that we have for Michigan. That's what the school districts across the state of Michigan use.
And
for their
our
finance.
status in regards to the MSBO certification in a position right now with our district.
Yes, so he is fully aware of our situation and what's going on in our business office. As I went through
No,
that,
I'm saying, what is our status currently?
we have a certified business office manager in our business office right now.
So this MSBO certification we already have in our office.
Yes, it's double. So I'm business office certified and Ms. Carter is also business office manager certified.
Okay, thank you for looking into that.
You're welcome.
Strategic plan update, Dr. Butts?
With the strategic plan update, I thought about what Mr. Triplett said on the last strategic plan and making sure that we not just go over, but are actually looking at it. So I'm in the process of getting what do you call it? It's a canvas. It's almost like what the vendors use at the ball games that we put on our gates. I will have one hanging up so we can go through and I'd rather go through and not just present it to the board, but to the public, what those key performance indicators are and how we are actually working towards those. So it'd be more of a teaching moment, a brief teaching moment as to what we're doing and where we are. So we haven't put in benchmarks, but I can still be able to explain where we are to the public so the public can have a better idea and a visual of what we're doing and where we are.
All
So-
right,
Madam President.
you have. the
So
floor.
when you say in the process, I mean, disregard.
All right, thank you, Dr. Butts. Up next, we have business and finance. And I would like to apologize to the board and the public. I am not feeling the best. I don't know if you all have noticed, my energy is dying the longer we go, so I am engaged and I'm present. I'm just not feeling well, so, but I am gonna last through the meeting. We're at 7:36 now. The goal was 8. I think we'll be a little closer to 8:30, but we can definitely get out of here by 8:30.
President Robinson.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm sorry, Dr. Bus moved fast. So he touched on the SMART goals. That was the next item.
Where?
that-
No, he didn't. So the goals are not on the agenda currently because the committee didn't get an opportunity to meet. Are you talking about his goals?
Right,
Yeah.
I thought we were gonna go over his goals.
So no, they're not on this agenda because the ad hoc committee has not had a chance to meet. So I asked that he take it off because we don't have an update for you guys.
Okay, so I guess my question is, do we have a deadline to respond to his goals? I know that there was supposed to be a midway point. He would identify his goals, we would give some recommendations based on the goals, based on his performance as it relates to his goals. And since we still don't have the goals, does that put us at, does that put us at a disadvantage in terms of our responsibility to responding to his goals?
I would say not at this time. I think that we have to get to a place of actually finalizing something. Dr. Buss has come to the table multiple times with the goals and he always get feedback from the board that the goals are insufficient. So we're trying to find a set of goals that works best for what Dr. Buss feels he needs to do as superintendent and what the board approves or supports as a board. So we are trying to get them finalized as soon as possible. Secretary Triplett.
Madam President, I would like to be removed from that ad hoc committee, if you
Okay.
will, as it relates to the superintendent preparing his goals. I too agree with trustee Gavin. I think at this particular level, it should be the responsibility of the superintendent to prepare and make his own goals and present it to the Board of Education. I want it to be on the record that it's not that these goals have come to us and we have not moved. There's been no adjustment, and the concern was there were no measurables. And so it was very difficult to look at these specific goals. They were too open-ended. And that is the responsibility of the superintendent, along with the strategic plan, along with the partnership agreement, and along with the district improvement plans. All of those things are we going to improve in math? What are the timelines? What can we expect? I mean, so this right here, so again, I think that, I don't know when the ad hoc committee is going to do it, and if so, but I feel like this is the responsibility of the superintendent to bring these goals to us and for us to make a decision, and it needs to be done quickly. We cannot keep kicking this can down the road. This right here has been almost like a 2-year situation. So we need goals, we need measurables, and we need to take some action as the Board of Education. Thank you.
Madam President,
Go
Go ahead, never mind.
Up next, we have business and finance. I'm gonna pass the floor to the business office manager, Ms. Brock Carter.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Just want to go over our financial reports for July 2024. Revenues and expenses are only about 1% of the fiscal year. One would expect that since July is the first month of our new fiscal year. Schools typically have lower expenses for the first 2 months based on the school year being on summer break. State aid is recognized over 11 months. No state aid is shown in the month of August. And we have not updated the July state aid as of yet in the business office. If you want to look at the budget versus actual summary, you'll be able to see based on our budget for the entire school year, we have recognized 8% of our revenue. And if you want to look at the budgets to actual detail version, you'll see that broken down by function code. The AP check register shows all the checks that we wrote for the month of July. I want to outline some of the larger purchases. Our Middle Cities Risk Management Trust is our liability insurance. That is the 400 and I don't have the exact number in front of me, but it is on the check register as one of our large purchases for July. And Barry and Risa, that is our lighthouse transportation to transport our sped students for the entire school year. And we are trying to lower that number by the purchase of our sped van that we purchased this month. So hopefully next year we don't have such a high transportation expense to Barry and Risa, because we'll be transporting our own students. The other large purchase was from Train, and that is for our boiler work.
All right, you can present staff report F1.
Staff report F1, subject monthly financial reports. This evening, it is recommended that the July 2024 payments be approved for all of the district's funds at a total of $1,550,890.89. The recommendation is that the board approve the July 1st through July 31st payments for the following funds as listed.
Can you read the numbers for us? So it's
Sure.
on the record.
Sure. I'll just go over the recommended action again, that the board approve the July 1st through July 31st payments for general fund, $1,453,594.21. Food service fund, $3,921. 2017 sinking fund, $91,853.70. And the student activity fund, $1,542.77 for a total of $1,550,890.89.
Is there a motion to approve staff report F1?
Madam President,
You have the floor.
I would like to make a motion to approve staff report F1.
Is there a second or support?
Support.
The motion has been made by BP Bowens and supported by Secretary Triplett. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Trustee Gavin?
Thank you, President Robinson. Mrs. Brock Carter, thank you for this report. I did have a question that was kind of lingering from the past and hoping that we can kind of bring it into this space. There was a deep concern at that time that building principals, possible, I don't know if the athletic director is able to see this or if coaches are able to see these things, but I'm wondering, what is the process for those people that are not in central office who need to make budgeting decisions? How are they able to access their budgets and make decisions? Make those decisions.
Well,
Can't hear you.
have meetings set up with all of the building principals to go over their budgets. And I haven't had a chance to meet with all the principals, but I have met with one last week, I have one this week, and so on. And we go over the budget line by line. I also, when I submit grant applications, I always consult with Robin along with the building principals to see the needs of each individual building, and we make sure that those needs are met. So the process is we meet, we go over the needs, and we make sure that everything's in the budget. And as the year goes on, if we need to make amendments or adjustments to the budget, we do that as well.
Thank you. And so I guess my question is, do they have access to view their budget?
Yes.
Right. So is it through Munetrics? Is it like a spread? Like how are they able to just?
It's a shared Google sheet. We have a Google sheet that I share with the principals, and everything's there that's in the budget. And as spending happens, as things go, I'm often getting a call to, do I have anything left? Can I do this? Can I do that? And then we figure it out.
Okay, thank you. And I guess the other question is, I know that with athletics, coaches may need to make some decisions or different things of that nature. Are coaches able to access those budgets as well?
At this time, I am communicating with the athletic director. My assumption is that the coaches' concerns are being brought to our meetings.
Okay.
So, if there's a disconnect there, we may have to address that and make a new process. But at this time, I am meeting with the athletic director, and he brings the concerns from the coaches to the meeting.
Okay, so currently the coaches may not be able to see their budgets. It may be the athletic director
Correct.
has it and they may not. I guess I'm wondering, is there any aversion to, being that they have to make these decisions, certain decisions that impact them, is there any aversion from the business office or from the superintendent's office of coaches being able to see their budgets as well?
I'm not against it. It would just be a different process than we've done in the past, that we would just have to familiarize ourselves with and make that available to the coaches, if that's the road that we want to take.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Secretary Triplett.
For 2 years now, I've been asking this question as to why principals don't have their own budget. Why would Title I decisions are based on each individual school makeups and what have you? I'm just shocked. It's almost like they have to come up and ask, like they're little bitty kids. These people have master's degrees.
I don't know if,
Just let me
sorry.
finish, please.
Mhm.
And I think each school, at one time as an administrator here, I was told that we had ghost budgets. And we didn't know, I never saw a budget here. And I think that it is not right for these principals to not have access to their budget. They're calling to ask you, do they have this available? When they should have their own budget and telling you what they have available and what they want to do with their money, as long as they're within the parameters. I do not understand also why you would go to Robin before, and then she comes and do all these different layers. The budgets are set up for each individual school, that we have principals, certified principals in these positions. And those principals should be able to work their budget and not come up those stairs and have to act like they are little kids. And I've been struggling. This is nothing with you.
Mhm.
And I've shared this with you, that they should be able to take care of their money. And if they come up and they go out, as far as you guiding from the finance office saying, because we've sent Title I money back, we've sent all type of money back year after year after year, because people were not able to do the work that they needed to do. And I just don't, I'm struggling with that. And I would like to get some clarification and some resolve. Those are their budget, the taxpayers' money. This is not central administration money to tell these people what to do. They are educated. They are in these buildings. They know what they need more than anybody. So I just want to put that out there. I don't need a response tonight, but I want to put that in the atmosphere.
I would like to respond because I'm not sure if I misspoke or.
No, no, no,
if
no,
we
no,
didn't-
no.
weren't
So I
clear.
would- If you, I think she was trying to clarify something
I'm
that,
I'm not being disrespectful, Madam President.
I know, but I'm chairing.
Yeah, I understand that, but I'm just
Okay.
saying, I don't need, I'm not asking, I'm just putting it out there again. Seriously. I'm just
Because
putting
they
it
do
out
have
there.
access to their budgets and the decisions that I make on spending is based on the needs of the building and that's from the principal. They do have access to their budget. Again, we have a shared Google sheet that's shared with myself and the building principals where they're able to view their budget, see the line items and make decisions from there. So it's not a ghost budget. It's not something that I keep in my arsenal and not share with them. It's something that we work on together. And then when, Robin's involved because she's the director of academics and Title I money has to be spent on academics. So when programming or things that need to come into play at the building level, the director of academics needs to be involved in that decision. And so that's when I said, Robin, I was saying, because programming should go through the director of academics.
I understand that. What I'm saying is, just like Robin knows Title I, each principal should know those guidelines too. So they shouldn't have to ask her. They should be abreast on everything that's expected for them to do in their budget. We have a lot of money that people are being paid in this district for them to be held like they cannot do their job. What's the purpose of them having these positions? If anything in that budget, every administrator should know how to work and move their budgets and the guidelines, the parameters that's within. And to me, it's professionally offensive. I've been asking for 3 years, and this board knows that these principals have not had access to their budgets, and it's not right. I want it on the record that that's where I am. It is not right. That's the way I feel. And I'll get an opportunity to talk to the superintendent. Maybe we'll get a chance for clarification.
Thank you,
so much. I'm just
Secretary
trying to
Triplett.
put things on the record.
Thank you.
Appreciate you
Anytime.
for stepping in.
Secretary Triplett, can you please call the vote on staff report F1?
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowen,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Trustee Rocket Martin,
Yes.
Trustee Gavin,
Yes.
motion carried. Always.
All right. Up next, we have, thank you.
I woke you up.
Ms. Brock Carter for your presentation today. Next up, we have Student Support Services Director Nichols, and she's going to be presenting an update on peer mediation.
Yes, thank you. Good evening. Just coming back again, we did have our train the trainer training for our peer coordinators at our Fairplain Middle School and the high school. Also next week, they will start the implementation. So they'll gather their team at each of the buildings. And I do know that there was a question around how many staff are able to be trained. For the trainers, that was 4. And then as far as students per building, it is recommended 20 students max.
Okay.
I did want to follow up with that. So I did share with you all the implementation timeline. So if you have the next thing on the timeline would be to start recruiting students in each of the building now that everyone is trained, and there will be an event, so like orientation or just informational to staff around peer mediation, how that process is going to look in the buildings.
Any questions from the board regarding the update provided? Trustee Gavin?
Yes, so I'm super excited, being on the disciplinary committee, the chair of that committee. This is something we've been pushing for because we don't want to just be expelling students. We want the students to be the leaders. We want our students to be solving their own problems, and we believe that they can. And so I want to thank you, Director Nichols, for getting on top of this and making sure that implementation happens. I guess my question is, they recommended 20, right? Did we have any wiggle room to train more students, or
So they recommended that because of the,
is it 20 per school? I'm sorry.
yes, it is. It's
Okay,
20
so it's
per s-
40.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Thank you for that. That's what I was trying to understand. So it's 20 per school. One of my questions is, does this entity ever train elementary school students?
At this time is in the two buildings.
Right, no, I'm saying, does the organization that offers this training, do they provide training for elementary students?
I can ask that question.
Okay, good. I would appreciate it if you look into that. I'm very interested in knowing if that's an option that we can explore at some point. They're having as much experience as possible, even at the elementary level. By the time they get to the high school, that'll be super awesome. And so it's 4 staff per building or just 4 staff total?
So so it's 2. So the trainers were the 2 at each building, so per building, so it makes the 4.
Okay, and so if they can train the trainer, is there like no limit to how many staff or even parents that can receive training in this skill set of negotiation and conflict resolution?
Oh, yeah. So now that they are trained, they definitely can. And in fact, I do know that they will be forming their implementation teams, and they will be looking for like a parent to participate on that team. So that is something that I know each building is putting together now. Because again, that training is next week, Tuesday on the 17th.
Okay, awesome. I know that we had a list of about 100 students from Peace Day who were interested in this program, whether they were interested in getting started right then and there, or they were very interested in being educated on it. So I'm hoping it's okay to turn that list over to you while you're doing, to aid in your recruitment process.
Yeah, so what I would do is when you do send that to me, I'll get that to each of the buildings coordinators. So the one at the high school is Mr. Burton, and the coordinator at the middle school is Mr. Jones.
Okay, thank you. And one last question.
Mhm.
Would it benefit this program to have volunteers to support it, or do you prefer to have everything self-contained?
So I will probably defer that to those who are in the buildings because they are more aware of the staffing. So I would defer that information to the buildings. But for me, I would say, being that it is within our school, I would probably keep it contained for me.
Got you. Okay, thank you so much.
Any other questions regarding the peer mediation update? Hearing none, thank you, Ms. Nichols, for your presentation today. I'm glad we moved you up. Everyone's still alert to be able to hear your update. Up next, we're gonna pass the floor to Director McDermott. Might be speaking that into existence with that doctor.
I received it.
He's gonna be presenting staff reports H1 through H4.
Good night, everyone. Staff report H1.
Can you all speak louder?
Yes. Is
Yeah,
that better?
thank
Can you
you.
hear me better there?
Yes, thank you so very much.
No problem. So staff report H1, reason for board consideration, a list of employees whose employment relationship with the district is or will be separated is submitted to the board each month. Facts and analysis, it is recommended that the Board of Education votes to accept the separation of employment of the following staff. Policy reference 3140 and 4140, resignation of professional and support staffs. Strategic plan goal reference, personnel leadership. Benton Harbor Area Schools will recruit, hire, develop, and retain the best staff to improve student outcomes. Separation of employment, Celeste Pauley from the position of academic interventionist, effective date 10/8/2024. Next, we have Brittany Gathing, teacher in training, kindergarten, separation date 8/14/2024. Maureen Lindsay Graham, from the position of GSRP teacher, 8/15/2024. Celia Otero Rios, teacher in training, ELL, English language learner, 8/19/2024. Shannon Williams, instructional facilitator, effective date 8/20/2024. Raymond Mason, STEAM teacher, effective date 9/6/2024. Jennifer Stiller, HR coordinator recruiter, effective date 9/6/2024. A recommended action that the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education votes to accept the separation of employment of the aforementioned staff.
Is there a motion to approve staff report H1?
Madam President,
You have the floor.
I make a motion to approve staff report H1.
Is there a second or support?
I support.
The motion has been made by Vice President Bowens and supported by trustee Raquel Martin that we approve staff report H1. Questions, comments, concerns? I did have a question and I'm gonna pass it to the floor. I'm a little confused with the last, the HR coordinator or recruiter. I'm wondering, were we just a temporary hold or space until a better job was found, or?
That has not been
It hasn't
verbalized.
been, okay.
That has not been verbalized. So that was not the intentions going in of our department.
We just heard it.
Trustee Gavin,
Oh, child. Okay, I must say that I am very concerned about the turnover rate. Effective September 6th, exit 9/10, right? Effective August 19th, exit 8/21. There are some systemic structural concerns in terms of onboarding, supports, and allowing folks to leave without understanding what the issue is. I do not think anybody just came and went through the process of being hired here just to hurry up and leave. People don't fill out all these applications and go through all of that process of getting a job just because they want another job. They want the job that they interview for. And so I'm just, structurally and systemically, I'm looking at our executive staff, our superintendent, our only employee, when I see this level of turnover happening this quickly, and it concerns me. It concerns me. And so, I'm wondering, what is the capacity that we need to build to provide support so that people's onboarding is properly being executed? And that maybe, I don't know if it's mentorship or what, but something is happening and we need to know what that is. And my question is, what is the difference between the exit interview completed? Some say yes, some say no, and another one says TBD. Okay to share with the board, TBD, to be determined. Is yes or is no? Did they say, I don't know if it's okay to share with the board? I don't understand the TBD.
so if they haven't completed the survey yet, they wouldn't have answered the question as to whether the survey is okay to share with the board. That's why that's a to be determined, because they have not done it to indicate if it can be shared with us.
Right, so I understand if it says no, they haven't completed it, right? But there are lines that say it's to be determined if they completed it.
Oh, you mean in the exit interview completed section? Okay,
Yeah.
Mr. Director McDermott, can you clarify that? The TBDs on Maceman and Stiller?
So they have not, we have sent them the exit interview survey. We have not received anything back yet at the time of this board meeting, but I'm hoping to still get that. So that to be determined means we haven't received it as of yet.
Okay, so that answers no. Just real quickly, there was supposed to be a list of all of the people who have left us, and then the status of those exit interviews, whether they're EDGE staff or currently. And I just want to say this, I think it's very important for us to make sure that in our HR office, that there is no retaliation, that we are creating a safe space for our staff,
Right.
and that we are treating them the way that they need to be treated. And we only have one employee, and that would be Dr. Butts. And so I just want to make sure that we're putting that out there on the record, that we are treating our folks the way they're supposed to be treated. We treat them right, they don't leave.
Secretary Triplett.
You're not gonna make me feel bad about
No, you don't, I'm not gonna make you feel bad.
No, I follow through. You know, I'm just trying to get you back up strong. I see you got back your strength back. You was weak. Got ready to go off on me. You came back real strong. You almost.
I'd be bull strong to wrangle you when
Yeah,
it's
shut up.
necessary. I'll bring it from the bottom of my toes if I have to.
Well, anyhow, like I said, I'm in agreement with it. It doesn't feel right. And I know that we went through this in our work session. It's something that's not right. I don't know what it is. And you know, the things that the board is being accused of as far as quote unquote micromanaging. When we get reports like this and we see things like this, and they might not have an exit interview on record, but they have an exit interview in the community and they let us know. And I want to put this on record again, the only exit interviews, in a very few exit interviews, we definitely get the exit interviews of those people who have something to rip the board up about. We get those faithfully, we got yes, and we get them and they come, they're on our emails and we see those. But I'm very concerned, and again, when I talk about central administration, I don't know how I missed this, but when Ms. Rios, who worked diligently in the finance office, was an asset to the finance office, top of the line in the finance office, and she's resigning from a position of a teacher in training, ELL, out of our finance office. I'm just concerned with that. When we were in our toughest of times, this person was very instrumental in holding us together and keeping us together. And now, when did she move into a classroom? And I did read her exit interview. And I want this Board of Education to please read that exit interview. And I think some of our questions will be answered. This is not a game. This is our school district, and these are our students. And this is a red flag, another central administration, red flag. Finance office, and for the last 20 years, all they talked about was deficit. Now we get debt removed, and now we don't have people working in the office, efficient people working in the office. Very concerning to me. Thank you so very much.
Vice President Bowen.
You know, life happens and people have life situations, you know? Some people can start at a job and then get a call for a better job. I think it is dangerous for us to paint a picture or go with conspiracy theories on our staff and going out in public. I also want us to be cautious discussing personnel matters and disclosing names and information, because I believe we could be violating laws. But I think it is extremely dangerous for us to constantly paint a picture of concern. And we may have concerns, and I think we should discuss those privately, but I think it's dangerous to publicly paint this dim and grim picture that we have incompetent staff. You don't do that. And I think that's dangerous. And maybe we have multiple people wanting to be superintendents. I'm just confused on why we're going on this route. Thank you.
All right, so at this time, in the absence of the secretary, I'm going to call the vote. And I'll be doing a sheet for him as well. Okay, so the motion was made by Vice President Bowens and supported by Trustee Rocket Martin for the approval of staff report H1. At this particular time, I'll ask the Secretary Triplett, please call the vote.
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowens,
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin,
Yes.
Trustee Gavin,
No.
Secretary Triplett, yes, motion carried.
All right, Director McDermott, staff report H2.
Yes, staff report H2, separation of employment, reason for board consideration, a list of employees whose employment relationship with the district is or will be separate is submitted to the board each month. Facts and analysis, it is recommended that the Board of Education votes to accept the separation of employment of the following staff. Policy reference 3140 and 4140, resignation of professional and support staff. Strategic plan goal reference, personnel leadership. Benton Harbor Area Schools will recruit, hire, develop, and retain the best staff to improve student outcomes. Separation of employment by means of retirement. We have Renee Smith from the position of GSRP Associate Teacher. Effective date 8/22/2024. Recommended action that the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education votes to accept the separation of employment of the aforementioned staff.
Is there a motion to approve staff report H2?
Madam President,
You have the floor.
I would like to make a motion to approve staff report H2.
Is there a second or support?
I support.
The motion has been made by Vice President Bowens and supported by Trustee Rocket Martin. Any questions, comments, or concerns? You have the floor.
I would like to congratulate Mrs. Smith on this milestone in her life, that she can retire and do some of the things that she probably couldn't do because she was working an 8 to 5 job or whatever. So, yeah, I'd like to thank her for her years of service to Benton Harbor Area Schools, and that we wish her well in her new position as retiree.
All right, thank you, Trustee Rocket Martin. If there's no other comments, Secretary Triplett, I ask
Just
that you,
real quick, President
Trustee
Robinson.
Gavin.
Just hoping that, for those staff, as other board members have mentioned it before, just making sure that when we have staff that retires, that's given us, 15, 16 years of their life, if we're just making sure that we're celebrating them with something, yeah. And thank you, to the retiree.
All right, if there's no other, I would also like to say congratulations on retirement. I'm looking forward to the day when I have put in enough years of service. I know I have quite a few years to go.
30 years.
About 30 or 40. So I'm extremely excited for Ms. Smith that she has reached those days, and I hope that she is able to actually enjoy and get some rest. I know most retirees find something else to keep them busy. So whatever she decides to do with her time, I hope it makes her happy. So at this time, I'll ask the Secretary Triplett, please call the vote for staff report H2.
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowen,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes, Trustee Rocket Martin,
Yes.
Trustee Gavin.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, Mr. McDermott, staff report H3.
Sure. Staff report H3, employment of staff. Submitted for board consideration to approve staff employment in accordance with the revised school code and other general laws of Michigan. Facts and analysis, it is recommended that the board approve the superintendent's recommendation for the hire of the following personnel. Policy reference 3120 and 4120, employment of professional and support staff. Strategic plan goal reference, personnel leadership. Benton Harbor Area Schools will recruit, hire, develop, and retain the best staff to improve student outcomes. First on our list, we have Matthew Jackson for the position of teacher in training math at Benton Harbor High School. Second, Lamaya Jones, GSRP Associate Teacher at Discovery Enrichment Center. Next, we have Alana Scales for the position of Accounts Payable Bookkeeper at Central Office. Next, we have Arlene Wilson for CTE Director at Central Administration. Jessica Hightower for the position of Teacher in Training Art at Benton Harbor High School. And last on our list for today is Sharika Bell for the position of Paraprofessional Special Education at MLK Junior. Recommended action that the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education votes to approve the employment of the aforementioned staff.
Madam President.
Okay, Mr. McDermott, I'm a little bit confused. The printed out copy that we have has a different name on it.
I sent an email this afternoon. The original candidate withdrew later this evening, maybe between 4 and 5 p.m.
Can I hear? I'm
Sorry, the original candidate on the list withdrew or had a change of mind between 4 and 5 p.m. today. So we made an offer to the runner-up who was ready to go, and they accepted the offer, which is why that name has been changed for us tonight.
Okay, so this is one of the resumes that you sent out?
Yes.
Okay.
Madam
Vice President Bowens?
Madam President, I would like to create a motion because one of our trustees did send an email. And due diligence, I want us to respect all trustees and make sure she gets her questions answered. That's all right, never mind.
I'm confused. Okay, 1 second. I asked the question before a motion was put on the floor, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
He answered it.
Is there a motion to approve staff report H3?
I so move.
Is there a second or support?
I support.
The motion has been made by Secretary Triplett and supported by Trustee Raquel Martin. Questions, comments, concerns? Now, Vice President Bowens, what is it that you were wanting to make sure concerns were addressed?
I know we need to fill that position, but I also know we got an email from one of our trustees. But I'd rather for us to go ahead and fill that position. And I will ask that you direct Dr. Butts and Marvin to please make sure they respond to that trustee.
Okay, I have yet, so if this is an email that was sent today, just so you all know, I don't send an email same day. I'm not gonna be available for the phone until like 5:30 most of the time. So the email that you're referencing, I'm not even familiar with, but I think Trustee Gavin did you have a comment or a question, Trustee Gavin?
I had a question, but if that question has not been answered, I can wait.
Okay, I'm good. I don't have any other questions. You can go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much. So one thing I would like to say is that I'm happy to see that we're looking to fill the CTE director position, that is careers and technical education. That is something that the community is very passionate about. If people are saying they want us to have more skills and trades and vocational hands-on classes, that is the position that allows for that. And, you know, sadly, when I got on the board, we were only paying $4,000 for a CTE director to fill that position, which makes it, you know, it's laughable at best. And so we work to get a real position in so that that person can actually work to expand that program. And I guess I'm really happy about this. And I know that we want to save money. And what I would also say is that I'm hoping that if this position really works out, if this person really works out in this position, that we will I looked at the pay, and we will look at, you know, increasing the pay for that position to make sure that we can hold on to that person. You know, definitely coming in. If that's the pay that you all decided, I respect it, but I would also say that let's look at if there's some incentives, if this person really does, you know, a really great job and expands programs and recruits people and students into the program, we should be looking at a better competitive pay for that role. I guess my question is, does this person have all of the certifications that are needed in order to fulfill the role of CTE director according to the Michigan Department of Education?
Yes, they do.
Yes. Okay, awesome. And so, yeah, that's just my recommendation, is just really looking at a pathway to providing a more competitive rate for that position. And I'm also very happy for all of the other new hirees that we have, and just hoping that we give them an amazing onboarding experience. Thank you.
All right, so if there's no other questions, I ask the Secretary Triplett, please call the vote for staff report H3.
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowens.
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Gavin.
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Motion carried.
All right, next on the agenda, we have staff report H4 for the third-party new hires. Mr. McDermott.
Yes, staff report H4 submitted for board consideration to approve the employment of staff in accordance with the revised school code and other general laws of Michigan. Facts and analysis. It is recommended that the board approve the superintendent's recommendation for the hire of the following personnel. Policy reference 3120, 4120, employment of professional and support staff. Strategic plan goal reference, personnel leadership. Benton Harbor Area Schools will recruit, hire, develop, and retain the best staff to improve student outcomes. First, we have Sherry Culligan for the position of academic interventionist through the services provided at Our Lady of the Lakes. Elizabeth Hopeman, academic interventionist, services provided at River of Life Schools. Grace Pedroso, paraprofessional, services provided at River of Life Schools. Recommended action that the Benton Harbor Area School Board of Education votes to approve the employment of the aforementioned staff.
All right, is there a motion to approve staff report H4?
Madam President,
You have the
I
floor.
make a motion to approve staff report H4.
Is there a second or support?
A second.
The motion has been made by Vice President Bowens and supported by Trustee Rocket Martin. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Trustee Gavin?
Thank you, President Robinson. I guess my question is, and we've been here before where we're being asked to recruit and retain, recruit and hire staff, for private schools. And I asked if it was possible that we could receive the actual case law, the actual law that requires us to do that. And so like, you know, are we required to provide certain services? Do they have to be that service? I think it's important for us to have that information in front of us and on this document if we're required to do that, because the strategic plan goal that says Benton Harbor area schools will recruit, hire, develop, and retain the best staff to improve student outcomes, that doesn't improve our student outcomes. So I don't understand how us hiring staff for a private school improves our student outcomes in Benton Harbor area schools. So I think that, you know, there may be a different strategic plan reference that meets this, but that's not it. So, you know, being that I have a concern for us doing that, I cannot support this. What I would ask though is if there are dollars that these schools are paying us for the grant coordinator services that we are offering, it would be helpful to include that in the document so that we could at least know that the investment of our time and the expenditure of our resources is actually coming back to us in some way. Does that make sense?
Can I get some clarity?
The last thing I said, is it possible for us to have know the dollar amount that these schools pay us to recruit staff for them?
Okay, so 1 second. I hear two people. Just give me 1 moment, please. So in response to Trustee Gavin's question, that was an excellent point regarding the strategic plan goal reference. So I would ask that when we do these moving forward, we just take that off. It's not necessarily relevant to Benton Harbor area schools or our strategic plan, so we can just remove that. All right. The legal requirement is something you all can just email out to us. And then what was the other question? The actual financial piece?
Yes, I was told that it is possible to receive some funding from these private schools for the services that we offer. And so it would be helpful for us to know what we are receiving back for our services.
So can we just have that as a follow-up?
Yes, we can have
Okay.
this follow-up.
And if you don't have it right now, I understand, but if it's something that we can have in the future.
I do, and it's a part of our what's called equitable services. Because we receive Title I funds, we have to be equitable to our students that are attending private schools. So these are students that live in Benton Harbor area schools district area, but they are attending private schools. So the equitable services that we provide to the private schools is required by MDE for Title I, II, and IV. And then we can charge an administrative cost up to 10% of their portion of the equitable funds. So it's a whole calculation and spreadsheet that I have to do. And it goes by the number of students that are at Benton Harbor students that are at the private schools. So these services that we provide are for our students that attend the private schools. They are not, the people that we hire, we don't recruit them. They are hired by the private schools. They recruit their own people, and then we just do the onboarding here at Benton Harbor area schools because the pay has to come from our district as a part of equitable services. And we can elaborate more on it if you like and I can go over how we actually calculate the number to come up with the amount that we give the private schools. And then again, I go there, I give them the number, we go over the budget, we address the needs of the Title I students at their building. So that's just a rough
So thank you. I
overview.
I would appreciate knowing what that number is that we're able to capture back so that we can, keep track of that. And what I would say is this is a backdoor way of dismantling and defunding public schools. That's what that is. And so, that's why I do not support it. I do believe they are our students. And if we're able to keep our funds, we can actually serve them, in a better capacity. Nothing against these schools. I, have great relationships with people at these schools. It's just policy wise. I can't support it, but thank you so much. And I look forward to finding out how we're able to retrieve those dollars.
Trustee Rocket Martin, did you still have a comment?
Well, she kind of
She
answered
answered
the
it?
question
Okay.
that I was gonna ask, because basically you're saying that the state is looking at any kid in Benton Harbor, they're funding that child and not so much individual school districts. So the money moves with the kid,
Correct. The
Right.
dollars
Money moves
follow
with the
the
kid.
student, not the district.
right? And we're their fiduciaries, right? And so we have to send that out. Okay, I understand. Thank you.
Secretary Triplett.
So River of Life, Our Lady of the Lake is Lake Michigan Catholic,
Correct.
okay? And so River of Life is a private school?
Yes.
Absolutely.
I
It's a
didn't know
Christian
that.
School,
Excuse me?
private Christian school.
All right, thank you.
Secretary Triplett, can you please call the vote for staff report H4?
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowen,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Trustee Rocket Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Gavin,
No,
motion carried.
All right, and then Mr. McDermott, I know that the link is there, but you went over this before, correct? This was just an access for us. Okay, so thank you so much for your presentation today. We're gonna move forward with the Facilities Committee or the Facilities Department. Director Dash is going to give us an update on the finalized survey for the Master's Facilities Plan. Did you have anything to present?
Just wanted to tell you real quick that the
can't
survey
hear
has
you.
been finalized and we're gonna, you can't hear me?
Now we can.
Now we can.
Now we can talk loud.
Are you guys okay?
Something's a little eerie. I think it might be the air today.
All right. So anyways, the survey's been finalized and we're gonna be posting it on the website real soon, and that's really about it.
Okay, I saw it go out on Facebook.
It's out.
It's out
Yeah, it went out on Facebook at some point this week.
today.
Today. Okay, I did see it though. Secretary Triplett.
So, again, with these surveys and what have you, major decisions was made with only 36 people responding. So we talk about the survey and what have you, I just wanted to know, you don't have to tell me right now, but when we talk about this survey and we talk about our staff and we talk about our community, because it's not just our students and our staff. When we talk about these major facility projects and what have you, this district is made up of 7 to 8 different municipalities. And so we need correspondence, the president of the Board of Education, both superintendents, our last 2 superintendents, has gone out to these various municipalities to introduce our superintendent to those different people and those different entities. And so I don't know to what degree, everybody is not on Facebook. I don't know to what degree, because this is very, very serious. When we're talking about doing major things. So I'm not going to be accepting, and I want to put this on the record as well, because only 50 people did the survey. That's nothing compared to what we need that makes up Benton Harbor area schools. Okay, so I appreciate that, but also we have senior citizens who are not technically savvy. What other things have we done to really get out there, like they're getting out there to get the vote? What are we doing to get out there to get and hear what the people in this community who pay taxes to the school district, regardless of whether or not their children attend this school, but they pay taxes every year to Benton Harbor area schools? What type of efforts have been put out? This right here, just the initial? Because this is a major decision. So this right here is for the superintendent, and we can discuss that later. I appreciate it, but I appreciate that report, just saying that this is out there. Thank you so very much.
Dr. Bucks, can you clarify how long the survey is open?
The survey is gonna be open for several weeks. So what I'll do is I'll have Ms. Singer to set up me some appointments to meet with the different municipalities to make sure that we give out hard copies and give the link to our website to direct them to our website to take the survey. So because like
Okay.
you said, if we want community input, we want all the municipalities to know about it and to give their input and feedback so that we can make informed decisions.
Okay, and then if you could get a copy of those, send me an appointment to go to the municipalities with you. If you, once you determine that you're gonna go to the municipalities, if you all could
I'm sorry, okay, I get you now.
send me an appointment on my calendar so I can reserve the space for those times and I'm able to go with you.
Madam President. When we look at this too, when I say the 7 municipalities, because a lot of times people just think that it is Benton Harbor proper, and that is not so. Benton Township is a large portion of our community. Our Mayor Marcus Muhammad, our Supervisor Kathy Yates, all of those different entities, and people can give you some ideas on how to reach the people. Because that's why we have a lot of pushback, because we don't reach out to them. And we don't include them until we need something from them. And they have to be a part of this process from the beginning to the end. Without them, we don't have a school district. Seriously. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Dash, and
President Robinson, I
yes.
thought,
you have the floor.
I thought, I was trying to go after trustee Rocket Martin, you didn't have that, okay. Okay, perfect. So I think a couple things here. Under facilities, we're always looking for some general updates in terms of the facilities, as well, in terms of, help desk tickets. You know, what is the status of help desk tickets that went in terms of people having concerns about facilities? And then that turnaround and making sure that those items are addressed. If there is a report that indicates that 40 staff put in requests for help desk tickets and those help desk tickets were cleared within a week, that's great to know. Like, you know, would like to know that information. Also, there was a request for information in terms of update on the driver's education program. And the pool. And I don't know if there was a final decision about the track. So those are some facility infrastructural concerns that's not here.
Yeah, so I'll with the ticket situation, Mr. Dash, Director Dash can answer. With the pool and the driver's ed, I did send out correspondence to the board in reference to that.
Can you answer
So with
answer
the
here, please?
with the driver's ed RFP, it was supposed to went out today. I had a situation come up today. It'll be out tomorrow. So it'll be out for 2 weeks.
Okay,
The goal is to make sure it starts this spring.
this spring.
Yes, ma'am. So, and with the track, the excavators are out on the field. Mr. Dash will give an update as to the reason we were asked explicitly by our committee chair to really look into the start time and finish time. And now Mr. Dash Director Dash got an update from the contractor themselves in reference to if we pause now or if we move now. He'll give you an update on that. And am I missing something?
The pool.
Oh, the pool. The pool, I decided to wait. I pulled back on the pool to wait on the master facilities plan. Reason being, facts and analysis, it was because we got all the other capital projects that are going now. And we're really trying to make sure that we stay on track with all of those before we take on another, that is going to be a huge project to tackle. And I want to make sure that we are diligent with making sure that we get these gym floors and all those, the boilers, these major projects fixed in place, up and running before we tackle another huge project, because that is going to be a nice size one.
Thank you, Dr. Busson. May I ask, I remember we were told the driver's ed would be last school year. And now we're looking at next spring. What is the factor that's moving it up another year?
One of the things we had to do was get it approved through the ESSER. We had to do a rebudget through ESSER. And then when I brought it up to Office of Partnership Districts, they hadn't realized that that was one of our major issues. So they actually contributed some money to that program as well. So with that being said, I wanted to make sure that we had enough money so when we do it, it's not a one and done, 1 year thing. Now we're up to 2 years now. So if they're able to give us more money, we can do another RFP or either we'll put in an RFP to extend for an additional year.
That is awesome. So now are we able to offer this program without charging the students? Since we have this extra money.
We can.
Awesome. Thank you for that. That's really great news. I think that's something that we should, share to the public. The other issue is with the master facilities plan. I thought that we had paid a company to deliver this service to us. And I would think that if we're paying them all this money, that they will also have a marketing strategy for getting the word out. Not sure if that's, that was part of their proposal. But if we are paying them to do this, do you know off top if they offered any marketing services in terms of getting the word out on the plan, or did they just write the survey questions and say, have at it?
So we did have a entire committee that was on there that I talked about on the last work session with the members there. So it is part of if I'm not mistaken, it is part of their contract to make sure that they get the word out as well. So I will work with them too. I think I will work with them and making sure the other municipalities get it, but I do think it is important that when I schedule these meetings to go out to the different entities instead of Benton Harbor proper, that they hear it directly from myself and or the school board president or whomever else she designates to go along. Because again, when you put a face with it instead of just a message, you get I think you get a better response.
Absolutely. I'm just saying if we're spending X amount of dollars for a service, we need to make sure that they are providing that service and that they are, calling town halls or community events to make sure that everybody, as many people as possible,
Yes, ma'am.
can take advantage of providing their input.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ms. Rockett, did you have a question?
Yeah, I do. For the driver's ed, I'm not opposed that it's totally free, but I think it would be best if the students also had some kind of financial buy-in into the program. When people put in their own substance and their own money, they tend to stick to it and take it serious. And I think that would also help to stretch the dollars. So it doesn't have to be a big fee, but I think money from them also would help, because if you take driver's ed now, it is very, very expensive. So whatever they can give to help, the program, I think that's a good thing. And I think it also just kind of helps you to become a little bit more dedicated. You won't start something and stop. My other question is this: would this be like an after-school program or during the day, or just how would you start?
It would start off as an after school.
Okay.
But because what we're trying to do is get the company in to train our staff to be able to teach it. So they'll come in first with their equipment and their staff, but the hope is to train our staff. I will bring it back to the board to let the board decide whether you want to do a small fee. I can easily do that. But the biggest part now is to get the RFP out and get it approved.
Okay, so I'm not sure where we are on the agenda. I don't have driver's ed noted as an agenda item for discussion. So we're gonna proceed to teaching and learning, staff report T1.
Did we do F1, Madam? We didn't do F1, Madam President. I don't think we voted on F1. No.
We did take a vote on monthly
I'm sorry.
financials. Okay. All right, you have the floor, Director Kupch.
For staff report T1, the subject is the approval of the Ready Taekwondo Academy contract for the 24-25 school year. The Board of Education shall approve the contract for social emotional learning SEL work with Ready Taekwondo for the 24-25 school year at both Fairplain Elementary and Middle Schools in the amount of $113,290. The Teaching and Learning Department and Office of Student Support Services are working toward providing additional SEL support for our elementary and middle school students this upcoming school year. The funding source for this initiative is Title I, Policy Reference 2131, 6320, and 6325. The mission of Benton Harbor Area Schools is to educate, guide, and inspire students by developing their skills and knowledge to be globally competitive. The recommended action is that the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education votes to approve the contract with the Ready Taekwondo for the 24-25 school year at Fairplain Elementary and Middle Schools in the total amount of $113,290.
Madam President.
Is it, you have the floor.
Oh, sorry.
Are you have a motion?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve staff report T1.
Support.
All right, the motion has been made by Vice President Bowens and supported by Trustee Gavin. I'm not sure I have a printed off
Yeah,
copy.
it's
I'm
right
just,
in the back before your peer mediation.
okay, thank you. All right, any questions? So the motion has been made by Vice President Bowens and supported by Trustee Gavin that we approve staff report T1. Questions, comments, concerns? Trustee Gavin.
I'm so excited about this program at the middle school. Thank you for your creativity in bringing this. My question is, is this like a extracurricular? Would it be able to replace PE for those students that, don't like the traditional PE, or would they be required to still take PE and Taekwondo is just like a extra class, extracurricular?
So at this time, Taekwondo is considered just another elective. It's not currently offered for all of the students at the middle school, but will be an optional course that students can take. PE class tends to be more in line with athletic development and nutrition, how you feel your body for your sport, as opposed to Taekwondo that not only has that athletic component, but it also has the self-discipline and some other growth factors that are related to that social emotional learning. So to answer your question, not every student at this time, but that certainly could be a place that we go in the future.
Is PE required at the middle school level?
No.
Okay, and then how soon would the students be able to take that class if we vote in favor of it?
So we have everything in place to get it started. We're just waiting for the school board approval. Principal Phillips at the middle school is ready to make adjustments to the student schedules. I believe they already have a list of students that they've identified for the program. And with Principal Wright's schedule at Fairplain East Elementary School, they already have the time built in for this to be one of the specials.
Okay, good deal. Thank you so much, Director Kupch. Yes, Kupch. Thank you so much for that update. Just same thing, maybe it's on our end, like on our end, we need to identify the reports that we're looking for in each area. And if you all have those templates from us, then you'll know, what other information that we're looking for so that we can make the decisions we need. So I'll take responsibility on our end for providing those templates, but thank you. I'm in support of this.
Okay, I have a quick question for you. So I just want to make sure I understand. This is going to be like a daily class offered at both of these schools?
Yes, so they're committed to 2 hours at the middle school and 2 hours at Fairplain East.
Okay. And do we know how many staff they're providing? Is this for one staff person or how many? I'm asking, I think it's a really great idea and I don't want you to think I'm opposed. $113,000 is just quite a bit of money. And, I know my daughter did Taekwondo and her fees were, of course, nowhere near $100,000. So I'm trying to just kind of figure out what is it that we're getting for the cost that we're paying.
Sure. So we are quoted for 247 students. That's all of the students at Fairplain. And then I'd have to go back to look at the specific number for the middle school. It's less than 100. And not only is it the staff, Grandmaster Smith, plus up to 4 staff members that he will bring with him. And then there's several different items that are on his equipment list, board breaking, kits, uniforms for the students that help them to put themselves into the right mindset for the program, mats. There's a few other things. The contract that's linked on there has a list of those items.
Okay, and then my last question for you, I know you estimated up to 300 students, 200 at one school and a little less than 100 at another. What happens if we don't have that many students enrolled in the program? Are we still required for the $113,000 or is it adjusted based on participation?
When we had the conversations to put this together, starting about 4 weeks ago, we used the numbers that were in Power School to get as close to our accurate number as possible.
Okay. Okay, so I would just ask that we ensure we get them enrolled and participating because $100,000 is a lot of money if the kids are not gonna make use of it. But I think it's great. Of course, I spend my own money for my daughter to go. So I love the program and I'm familiar, but I just wanted to ask. It's Secretary Triplett.
So again, I too, I support this. I think our kids, it does with the social and emotional learning. I also just have this question again. The principals, I'm hearing you saying that this is kind of like after the fact, the elementary principal has identified the number of students, the middle school principal, which is new. Did the middle school principal put this in her budget or did you all put it in there and then tell her what she needed to do? Because I'm going to press the issue about the principals and their budget.
That's not a problem for me, Secretary Triplett. Thank you
Thank
for your question. Yes, it is in her budget. It was a part of the consolidated application that was submitted last month for the entire building, and everything in the budget was going over by each principal.
Okay, so I guess I was asking, was this something when I'm talking about their budget? Principal Wright initiated, she wanted this program in her school. The new principal at Fairplain, I know it's been something at Fairplain that they've done, for the last few years and what have you. It's been a pretty good program for them. And I know the new principal has just come in the first week of school. I just wanted to know if they had the liberty and the autonomy to make the decisions as to having this in their building. So I'm quite sure if they have it in their building, they're going to make sure that the students that are required are in those classes.
Okay.
Thank you so very much,
Yes.
Mr. Brock Carter.
You're welcome.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna call for the vote for staff report T1, but if we find this for some reason we don't have, I will come take Taekwondo, so the money is not wasted. The staff can do some social, we gotta figure out how to make use of this bread. That's all I'm saying. Okay, Secretary Triplett, please call the vote for staff report T1.
President Robinson.
Yes.
Vice President Bowens.
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Trustee Rocket Martin. Trustee Gavin.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, so next under old business, our board retreat. If you all remember, I had notated that we wanted to do, I was looking at our next training, our required trainings for Saturday, September the 21st. I did confirm with Ms. Macon that she is available. That's next Saturday. You're not available?
No.
Okay, so I'll have to change the date. I won't even play that game. So I'll come back to that because we have to all be present for it to count. Anything under new business? Okay, anyone here for open public comment? You have a comment? Do you need for me to read the public comment statement? Okay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for making the time. My name is Liz Goodwin. And as you know, some of you may know, I'm getting ready to retire on Friday. Thank you. And I want to let everyone know that after 4 years of working in the superintendent's office, I've never felt for one day that any staff in the central office has never had anything but the best interest of the district at heart. Where there have been problems that have arisen is from personal issues that have come up that have clouded the judgment and the climate of the office. It has nothing to do with the ability of the people that work there. Every single one of them is amazingly qualified. And when I hear so many complaints about our central office staff, when none of you are in that office every single day, sometimes from 8 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night, working to get things done for this district in the best interest of this district, to have you talk like you do sometimes is extremely frustrating and aggravating. The team that we have now, the set of directors that you see right over there, is the most amazing, dedicated group of team workers I've ever worked with. I said to Dr. Butts 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, when I was like, I'm going to get emotional about this. I'm so glad that I can leave this job knowing that the district is in good hands, not only under Dr. Butts, but under this amazing group of directors over here that work their, excuse my French, asses off every single day to do what's best for the kids in this district. And I swear to God, I cannot believe that I've sat here for 4 years and listened to this, and you worry about how the board is portrayed in your exit interviews. Trust me when I tell you that it's there sometimes for a reason. Even from my own perspective, I don't need my whole 3 minutes to say what I need to say. I'm really glad that I've had this fantastic opportunity to work in this community, to work with people, to work with the staff that work here. But I am so disgusted by the way that we are portrayed in the public, just for the mere sense of being told in public on a live stream broadcast how bad our district looks. And you want people to come here and work? You wonder why I know why this person left after a couple of weeks. And it wasn't because of anything going on here. So you make assumptions, but you don't know, because you are not in that room. You are not in that office. You are not on that floor. You are not privy to conversations. This is private information. You are not entitled to know unless they tell you, they say it's okay for you to know. To make assumption otherwise is absolutely wrong. And it's inappropriate, and I don't even know how to say it. But on the lighter side, like I said, I have enjoyed my time here at Benton Harbor Area Schools, and I'm glad that I'm leaving it, I feel, in a better place than my position was when I arrived. I didn't have the training. And I'm so thankful that Natalie has been able to work with me for the last couple of weeks, because every single day has had an opportunity to come up and learn something. Oh, yes, this is how we deal with someone that's upset about this, or this is how we deal with a FOIA request, or this is how we deal with a board request, or this is how she has had the opportunity to have every single experience that I've experienced over the last 4 years. And so I feel really good that she's going to do an amazing job. She's amazingly talented and smart and a quick learner and understands dynamics, and she understands the community. So, I mean, these are all pluses, and I'm very, very excited for her, and I'm excited for the future of Benton Harbor Schools, because I do care about you, just like everybody else here does. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from open public comment? All right, hearing none. Superintendent announcements and comments.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to make sure that everyone knows that the Reader's Choice has nominated our band to be voted the top band in the region. The ads will run for the next 2 weeks for voting from September 25th to October 6th. So I'm very proud of our band. I will send this out to the board that our band has been nominated as one of the best bands in the county.
Right, go Tigers.
We're one of the top 3, so we need everyone's vote.
Okay, so thank you, Ms. Liz, for that. We're one of the top 3 bands in the district, so we need everyone to vote.
So can we share that
Yes, ma'am.
on our platform?
Yes.
Okay.
I want to make sure I bring it to the board first.
All right.
And I just want to also just thank all the teachers, the staff, the faculty, everyone that does an amazing job every day for our students, for our families, for our community, and for our district.
All right, next we have board members' announcements and comments. Trustee Gavin.
Thank you. So I'm super excited to announce that once upon a time, for the during the Peace Day reunion, that was when the students would take the 90-day Peace for Life challenge. We are extending that, to offering that 90-day challenge, to the entire community. We've decided that that's a challenge that should happen all year round. You identify the habit that you want to change, what do you want to replace it with, and you find a partner to help hold you accountable, and you hold each other accountable to that thing that's going to make you better. And people of all ages can get involved. We have a father who's looking to do Tai Chi with his son. We have another father who's looking to listen to his daughters, ask his daughters a question every day and journal with them. We have some folks giving up meat. We have some folks meditating. So it's a really beautiful peace within things that are happening there. So really excited about that. Anyone who's interested can go to peaceday247.com, and in the menu option, there's the opportunity to join that challenge. What I would say is that this is a very important board meeting, and I think that for Liz to be able to come and say what she wants to say, no matter how we feel, I do think that it's important for us to be able to listen to staff and for people to have a safe space to speak their mind. Even if I, vehemently disagree with that person, I think that we need to create a safe space for people to share their ideas so that we can identify, what are the things that we can do better. And I just want to be clear that I'm not saying that anybody is incompetent. What I'm saying is that if something occurs enough, a pattern appears. And if there's a pattern of concern, we need to address it. We need to fix it. And we only have one employee. And so we have a right to hold that employee accountable. And I know that sometimes in Black communities, people are uncomfortable with Black folks holding other folks accountable. That's our job. And whatever's happening in other school districts, they have a right to hold their superintendent accountable. And our elected officials have a right to do that as well. We have a right to have a high expectation of academic excellence, of our programs, of all of the above. And so, and what I would say is that we don't just sit at these tables. I can't speak for everybody, but I live in this community, born and raised.
Right.
I graduated from Benton Harbor High School, and I went to all of the schools. All of my schooling was through Benton Harbor area schools. And I talk to people. And so I have multiple sides to this coin, and I know what's going on. And so I speak to that. It's my job to do that. And so I'm happy to do that. And it's our job to make sure that we hold our leader accountable to doing what's best for our students. Thank you.
Trustee Rocket Martin.
I once again would like to recommend that maybe we should go to committees as a whole, for the simple fact that we all could receive the same information at the same time and get the same facts and ask the questions there and get it clarified. I think that might help reduce a lot of the information that we don't get, that we think we should have. I also would like to say, I'd like for us to be careful when we say we send Title I dollars back. I've been in this district for about 40 years plus, and we've had amazing people that fill that state and federal office. And I still assume that we have amazing people monitoring that budget now. And so when you say we send dollars back, to my knowledge, we've never sent any Title I dollars back. Grant dollars, SIG funds, but never Title I funds we have sent back. And so because when you say that, that makes it seems like those people were incompetent and didn't really know what they were doing, that they would send money back to the state. Never. So I like for us to kind of be careful when we say that. I think, let me see what else. As far as the budgets, you know, I kind of believe the principals have access to their budgets. We always had access to ours, and basically what you're doing in finance is exactly the same way they did it with us when I was a principal. They called us in, we looked at our budget, over our budget, and really our budget was set for us the year before. The year before, we knew what things we wanted to do the following year. So I don't think it's a last minute thing that the principals and finance do. But once again, I would like to say that if we could go to committees as a whole, I think that would be a lot better for us.
Thank you, trustee Raquel Martin. Secretary Triplett.
Madam President, thank you for this opportunity to close out tonight. Again, I said what I said, and before I take it back, I'll add more to it. And it's real. Accountability is very difficult. It's very difficult. And it is something that is just plaguing the nation. You know, people get offended, you know, and privilege is real. Privilege is real. And people feel just because that they can come and say and do and conduct themselves in any kind of manner. And I understand privilege and all of those different type of things, but we are Tigers. This Board of Education is made up of citizens of Benton Harbor area schools. The majority of us are alumni of this institution. And so we've been here when there were 2,300 students in this high school. So if you get offended by my Tiger, that's personal. I don't care about you being offended about my Tiger and our Tiger. Okay, because you go back to your various communities and what have you, because sometimes people think when they're working that they're helping. You're not helping, you get a check and you have a responsibility. And I think that is very, very important. And as far as my colleagues, and it's not to anyone, to be careful about what we say and about what we do. I said what I said. If you pull the budgets and what have you, you will know there have been several times when monies were sent back because we did not do what we were supposed to do and people didn't get it done in a timely manner, or because they didn't have access. And I'm going to fight for it until the end. I want to say that just because like President, we work together, we talk together and everything, you work with me and I work with you and we know each other and we know how it do. I want to tell you all, I encourage you all to do a good job. It's nothing personal. And I wish you all the very, very best, but you got to be on top of your game because you can't bring anything up in here and present it to us and think that we're just going to say yes because you said it. We might not have it written in paper. We live in this community. They talk to us too. So I wish you all the best and thank you. To Liz, I hope that you have an absolutely amazing retirement. I really do. I appreciate everything that you brought to the table for Benton Harbor area schools. So enjoy your retirement. And Natalie, we are so excited about you being in that office. It's great to have a Tiger assisting our superintendent. Thank you.
Vice President Bowen.
Well, you know, I gotta start it off today with one of my songs by the late Frankie Beverly and Mays. Right now. I can't understand why we treat each other this way. Taking up time with these silly, silly games we play. We've got our love, and no matter how it's said or done, we are one. No matter what we do, we are one. Love will see us through. We are one. And that's the way it is. I just want to encourage you guys. I'm getting ready to start a podcast. It's called Fight the Good Fight Trenton version 101. So I want you to tune in because it's going to be about defending the truth and standing up for yourself. So fight the good fight. If you see me on camera, I want you to tune in. You know who I'm talking to. Liz, I almost got teary-eyed because I just want to say thank you. You tolerated a lot You allowed people to treat you any type of way. And don't ever think your work was not in vain. People use pride and passion as a level of disrespect, and that's not okay. So people see you and your reward is in heaven. Some of us talk like we are Christ-like, but our actions are not Christian. Everyone can say, I love you with the love of God, but are you walking in the fruit of the Spirit? Are you treating people with how you would want to be treated? So I just want to say thank you for your years of service, your encouragement, and just being there when I called you and I need help or anything. Thank you.
That's beautiful. Beautiful.
Dr. Bucks, I want to say thank you because so often you go through a lot. You are constantly put on the front and demeaned and belittled. But we value, some of us on this board do value it and we respect you. And we use a token of a word of accountability. It's a way you can get accountability. Treat people with how you want to be treated. A new school is opening up and I want you guys to be aware. I had talks today. A new school is opening up. It's going to bring more competition. I'm not going to say you're going to be shocked on who's opening up the school, but we have a new school coming in Benton Harbor. I also want to say we have to watch the line that we walk into. Sometimes we say it's accountability, but let's not use accountability as a level of word of micromanagement. Thank you, and God bless you all.
All right, so I have no comment this evening. I ask for a motion to adjourn.
I support, or second.
The motion was made by
Yeah.
Vice President Bowens. Is there a second or
Did he
support?
support and second it?
He's making the motion.
He's making the motion.
Mhm.
Oh, he's making the motion
Yeah, I made the motion to adjourn. the
and
meeting.
seconded.
No.
Oh, okay. He just made the motion. Okay.
Is there a second or support?
Second.
The motion has been made by Vice President Bowens and supported by Trustee Gavin. Secretary Triplett, can you call the vote?
President Robinson.
Yes.
Vice President Bowens.
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Trustee Rocket Martin. Trustee Gavin.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Right, this meeting is officially adjourned at 9:08 PM.
No, 8. 3 hours to the time.